I'm going to call the Star City Council meeting to order. It's Tuesday, December 19th, 2023 at 7 p.m. at the Star City Hall. If you could all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Roll call.
Thank you. Councilmember Nielsen is absent, excused. Councilmember Wheelock.
Here.
Councilmember Salmonson.
Here.
Councilmember Hershey.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a quorum. Thank you. We're gonna, on item 4 on presentations, I'm gonna ask the council to make a motion to amend the agenda by adding item 4B. I'm sorry. I totally jumped on there. We're gonna have our invocation by Bishop Jeff Wood. Sorry, Third Ward Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. Hershey was trying to get me out of here quick, so I'm sorry.
Is this where I'm giving the invocation?
Yes,
I'm a little sad right now, Mayor.
I apologize.
It's okay. We'll pray about it. How's that?
That'll work.
Our Heavenly Father, we're grateful for this opportunity to meet tonight. We're grateful for these amazing leaders who are providing for this great city of Star that we live in. We're grateful for their service that they render. We pray that Councilman Nelson and City Clerk Qualls will be recognized and missed this night. May they be provided with health and strength. We're also grateful to have Councilman Hershey with us, who recovering from surgery, and grateful for his presence. We are asking thy blessing to be upon this meeting, that these good leaders of ours will be able to conduct business and be mindful of the residents of this great city, and take them into consideration as they utilize our funds for the betterment of this great city. We pray that this meeting will be under thy blessing, that those who are here will be civil and be able to have civil dialogue. We're mindful of this amazing country that we live in, and grateful to be in this part of thy vineyard. We're also very mindful and prayerful of other countries that are struggling and under war. May they be prayerful and mindful, and that the war will stop. We are grateful for this amazing time of year where we get to celebrate what we know as Christmas, and that we might be a little more vigilant this time of year in not so much what we get, but what we give. And that we might be, because of that, a little kinder, a little gentler, and a little better. And these things pray for humbly in the sacred name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Santa. Appreciate it. All right, we'll move on to item 4, where I need to have a motion to add item 4B, where Chief Essing is going to introduce one of our new officers and provide his November report. That report came in late, and so our city clerk's been out. That's why it's late to add.
Mr. Mayor,
Just to make sure that the reason for why it wasn't on the previous agenda needs to be part of the motion.
Oh, okay. Put that reason why in the part of the motion, that our city clerk has been out
All right.
and this came in late.
Okay, so I move that we amend the agenda to include item 4B, the police chief presentation, due to this item not being included on the agenda because the
Or clerk's
clerk
been out.
was out.
Okay, that work, Chris? Okay, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Thank you. Wheelock,
Yes.
Salmonson,
Aye.
Hershey.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. Thank you. Now we'll move on to item 4A, IIIA's annual report. I think, Ryan, you have that? Or is there, okay, there we go. Very good. Forwards and backwards. And then the top one will highlight if you push it.
Fancy. We'll try not to mess this up.
And then, just make sure we speak in the microphone so people online can
I'm
hear.
going to move a little.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, for having me. My name is Susan Lassou, and I'm the Operations Director with IIIA, and I'm here to give you our annual report for the year that completed on September 30th, 2023. So just going right into our report, we will maybe.
Ryan?
No. That works too. So just some of the highlights, we did end our year with 103 total agencies, and 100% of those agencies did stay with us for the year. We had 2,100 employees, a total of 100 members. So that includes all the dependents in that count, about a $35 million budget, and we had 98% participation in our wellness screenings. Our next couple of pages, just quickly, these are the agencies that are part of IIIA, and those blue highlighted our new agencies for this year. You'll see just the map of those agencies along with our board of trustees who are currently in place. On page 4, we'll talk about our staff operations. You see all of our staff up there along with just a summary of our operations. We just like to highlight our admin operating expenses every year. For the last 3 years, we've been able to keep that cost reducing by a percentage, and we're really happy we can do that. And then that pie chart, we just like to show in the year what the breakdown of each dollar is. So if you had $1, 87.2% of that would be used to pay claims. So those are the direct medical, dental, vision benefits that we're using. And then you can see 2% of staff, there's a 1.7 for operations, contractors, and then our 7.4% TPA administration fees. Those are the fees we pay to Blue Cross of Idaho, Delta Dental to run their network and use their providers that are in the network. And just some highlights about our member relations. So we do have a benefits line our members can call in. So over the year, we've had 2,217 calls. Those are calls that are answered by our staff. Some of the calls are as simple, of course, as I need a new ID card, up to this claim wasn't processed correctly. Can you help me with that? So just a little more information about the things we handle. Our finance page, we were able to secure a $2.9 million COVID reimbursement through the CARES Act funding through the state of Idaho. That was really exciting for us because that is direct money then we can put back into the trust, which offsets those rate increases and really helps keep those increases low for the members and employees of the public agencies. We had $1.8 million in prescription rebates last year, so that was actually a 104% increase, so it more than doubled from the year before. And part of that is just our broker we use. They help us manage our pharmacy benefit, and they constantly are making sure we're getting enough back in rebates, and if we don't, they ensure that we get those additional funds back. Subrogation, you can see last year, 2 years ago, we had only $4,000 in reimbursement, and last year we had $151,000. We went to a different third party to pursue our subrogation funding, and that was only for about 6 months. We actually had them on board, and they were able to secure $151,000. So that was pretty great for us. Stop loss premium. So that is our catastrophic insurance. So every year we have catastrophic insurance we pay on a monthly basis. So any claim over $425,000 hits that stop loss. and then that stop loss or catastrophic insurance pays the rest. So we were actually able to decrease that premium last year, and we were able to do it for this year as well, which is really good because it saves us a lot of money, but it's also very needed when we have bad years. Just a couple more things there. We always are pursuing grant funds. We do invest all of our funds that we can to earn interest on those. And then our IBMP, excuse me, are incurred but not paid reserves. So this is the money we have to set aside. Department of Insurance tells us that you have to set these funds aside. So our actuary determines what that is, and then we set those funds. And it did increase quite a bit last year. And that really is because as I was here last year, we talked about we had 2 really bad years in a row. So that increased significantly due to that. But it's better this year. So moving on, we'll just talk about the medical plan quickly. So we tried a new layout this year just to give you some information about each plan. So this last year, we had 57 agencies. We provided information to 12 of those agencies joined, which gave us 102 agencies in our medical plan. We wanted to provide the 5-year renewal versus trend. So you can see over the last 5 years what our renewal rates were and then what the trend is. And what trend is for medical rates is that is the increase or the inflation rate that Idaho experienced on medical costs. So even though we had a 5.6% average for the last 5 years, Idaho actually saw a 6.4 trend or inflation increase on medical costs. So we were able to stay below that trend, and that's kind of our goal, is to keep that pretty low and consistent. And then on page 7, you can see the high claimants. So when I was here last year, we had a lot of high claimants. This list is greatly reduced from last year. Most of these, of course, are those cancers, autoimmune illnesses. Some of these are people that we see ongoing claims for. This year, we didn't have any that were past year claimants. So that's good because it means some of those claimants we've seen in the past have either moved off the plan or they're doing better and they're not needing these intensive treatments anymore. You can see we have only received $10,000 in stop loss reimbursements. That's very low. So although we're paying that premium for that catastrophic, we're not having to use that insurance, which is good. And then we do care management for these people. So we actually have 24 members that are in our care management, but only 23 of those are high claimants because they're typically members we've seen in the past, and we try and give them care management to help get them the best care they can so we don't see them show up on this list. Okay, bottom of page 7, we just wanted to share with you guys how we're doing with our life insurance that we do provide for every member of the trust and then all the elected officials as well. So we're doing pretty good on that. Our medical programs, these are the programs that we list on the front as our savings. So if you just look through them, we have our maternity incentive program, our medical infusion program, telehealth, and I will note that they had 2,600 telehealth calls this last year. And the reason it's such a savings is because you're not going to urgent care. You're not going to the ER. You're calling our telehealth providers and they're able to take care of most things just through that phone call. Additionally, we had our Wonder Health program. So we've actually had 538 pounds lost through this program by our participants, which is very exciting. And we're doing more of those sessions right now, along with members who participated in our tobacco cessation and health coaching. And all these things are really important to have for so many reasons. So talking about our wellness screening on the next page, this is kind of the most important thing we really do. So last year we had 58% of our members who participated in our wellness screenings. And again, this is where the nurse practitioners come on site, they do the blood draw, give the flu shot, and then they do follow up with any member who has anything that is elevated or of concern to our nurse practitioners. 98% of our agencies participated, but you can see we've had 4 elevated PSAs, 4 positive Cologuards, 2 type 2 diabetes diagnosis, and 125 elevated lipid panels. So a lot of these people they try low-level cholesterol medication or suggest some lifestyle changes or additional testing to see how they can help them. We did add dermatology skin checks for the first time last year. We had 28 agencies we were able to visit, and you can see the results from that. We had some possible melanomas, stage 1 melanoma. We did expand this quite a bit this year with our wellness screenings, and I will tell you, we had 2 stage 1 melanomas we found this year. So probably saved someone's life just by doing this on-site dermatology check. So very important we do that. We'll move on to our dental plan. So again, this is a smaller plan, 972 employees, and we had 10 agencies that joined last year. Just wanted to share again that trend versus renewal. So on the dental side, we're at 1.5% for the last year. Idaho trend is at 4.9%. So we've been able to keep our dental plan very low. This is a finite benefit, so you're going to max out. It just means we have this plan very well funded. We don't have to take increases very often, which is really good. For our vision plan, we have 1,100 employees and 9 agencies added, 80 total agencies on this. Vision's unique in that the rates are so low. So when you see this 14.3% increase we had this last year, and you see that our renewal is higher than our trend, I want to explain to you that 14% is $1. And that's not even on all the plans. That's just for the family or the employee and spouse plans. So we only increase our vision plan when we can increase it by $1. And we try to only do it, as you can see, every couple of years. So it does come out about the same on that. Excuse me. Our mental health plan is our largest plan. So all 103 agencies are part of this because we are able to sell our benefits individually. So we have a couple of agencies that participate just in our mental health program. So on this plan, we have the 2,139 employees. 4 agencies offer the mental health program for either their fire volunteers or their elected officials. And you can see we had almost 1,800 individual EAP visits by 239 members and 46 unique agencies. So about half of our agencies are utilizing this benefit. We also like to point out we do our Wellness Wednesday webinars. We started those last year and we've seen a huge increase in that this year. We always recommend people sign up because if you're unable to attend, it will send you the recorded webinar after the fact. So you can watch that whenever you have that time available. Shift Wellness is who we work with for our mental health program, and they man our first responder helpline. So this is that helpline that is available 24 hours a day to first responders. They did have an increase of 37% in calls last year, partly because we encourage first responders to call. We want them to call before it's a crisis. 5 of those calls were crisis calls. We did have to actually call dispatch and send someone on site for one of those. And so these guys are highly skilled. They are the psychologist and one's a retired police sergeant. And so they know how to really talk to and work with these individuals when they're in that state. So it's fantastic. And just information about the breakdown of those calls. The last thing I want to point out is our inpatient number. So Shift Wellness does help us place anybody that goes inpatient. They will actually pick the facility based on the individual member and the needs of that member. So it's a very sad statistic, but we know there is a mental health crisis. And one of the things we always look at is the number of children we put inpatient. And when we say a child, it's a dependent. So it's anyone that's 25 and younger. The majority of the children we put into treatment are between that 16 to 22 age. That's typically where they fall in that age range. But we feel very confident they're going to the right facility. We've seen some really positive things from these members that are coming out and getting the treatment they really need. And then lastly, we'll just wrap it up. So looking forward at this year, again, I mentioned the reduction in admin and operating costs and our stop loss or our catastrophic insurance decreasing. We added an additional specialty medication program, There's been a a little work on that one, but we're expecting a significant savings by using this program with our pharmacy benefit manager. And then we're looking at additional on-site things for those rural areas. So looking at mammogram buses, I mentioned the skin checks. We're trying to get it to all of our agencies. It's really difficult, but we will find someone. We added digital physical therapy this year. So people who have chronic pain, they can reach out to Hinge Health, and Hinge Health will actually send you an iPad, and they do virtual physical therapy. So you just log in and you do your physical therapy with someone through that iPad. And so we're really excited about this for those rural areas where people otherwise have to drive a couple hours just to get help. Additionally, our diabetes prevention program will be expanding that. We're always trying to reduce our professional third-party fees, looking at our contracts. And then we actually have a medical weight management program. It just got approved today, so that will be rolling out. We have actually 2 employees. One started yesterday and then one starts January 1st. So we've grown, trying to get more benefits people to help all the members and the phone calls that we get. So, questions?
Any questions?
Thank you.
No, that's good info.
Hey, thanks, you guys.
So thank you.
Yes. Okay.
All right, we're going to move on to item 4B. Chief Essing.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, Chief Zach Hessing, Star Police Department. I have a grateful opportunity this evening to actually introduce our newest detective, Casey Bryant. If you want to come on up here. As Casey walks up here, just real quick. So this will be actually our second person crimes detective for the city of Star. Apologize, I'm getting over a cold. So, but and his duties will be more focused towards the violent crime detectives or violent crimes. You'll look at domestic violence. You'll look at aggravated assaults, aggravated batteries, those type of things. The other thing that he's volunteered to help us out with too, which I'm really grateful for, is that one of the things that we lack in Ada County and West Ada School District is school resource officers. And I think it's very important that we as a community do everything we can to keep our kids safe, and having a school resource officer in a school is very important. But to the lack of funding that we have, they're not able to provide that. But what we've done with Detective Bryant, and I'm grateful that he's agreed to do this, is that he actually is stationed out of the Star Elementary School. So he's not a school resource officer. He still has a caseload, and he has his cases that he gets assigned from what happened out here in Star. However, he is there just in case somebody comes in that school to do any type of harm to those kids. We have a good guy there that's willing to respond very quickly and already on scene. So I do appreciate him. It's a Band-Aid right now. It's a good Band-Aid to have just in case something happens up there. So I'll read through this bio and kind of introduce Casey Bryant. Casey grew up in a very small town in southern Idaho. After graduating high school, he attended the College of Southern Idaho and worked for the Bureau of Land Management, fighting wildland fires in the summers. While raising 2 boys in his hometown, he coached soccer, football, basketball, and served as a member of the school board for a term. He worked for the Bureau of Land Management for 14 years prior to moving to Boise to work for the Ada County Sheriff's Office. In 2015, he started as a detention deputy in the jail. While attending the detention academy at Post, he was selected by the class to represent them as the class vice president and graduated as a top student, as well as being recognized for being the top student in physical fitness and marksmanship. In 2016, he moved to Star with his family. His 2 older boys attended Star Elementary and Star Middle School before moving to Eagle High School. His daughter currently attends Star Elementary, and his youngest boy will be at Star Elementary next year. He worked as a detention deputy in the jail for approximately 3 years. During those years, he quickly became an area lead, was a special response team member, and a pre-ed investigator. He moved to patrol in 2018. While attending the patrol academy at Post, he was selected by the class to represent them as the class president, and again graduated as a top student, as well as being recognized for being the top student in physical fitness and marksmanship. He worked as a patrol deputy in unincorporated North County for 3 years, where he was able to assist on calls and work with deputies assigned to Star and Eagle. During his 3 years as a patrol deputy, he took on the collateral duties as a patrol CSI. UTV team member, UAS team member, and worked 2 summers at Lucky Peak Reservoir as a Marine Patrol deputy. In 2021, he moved to Kuna City to be a juvenile crime detective. He held this position for approximately a year before moving to Barrister to work as a major crimes detective. Since working as a detective, he has taken on additional responsibilities as a chief pilot for a UAS program. Don't know what that is. That's a drone program here locally. And a tech ops team member, which is a specialized team that works with specialized equipment like interior drones and robots deploying on high priority incidents. So those specialties that he has is extremely important, especially as this most recent critical incident we had out here in Star. Drones save lives, and I can testify firsthand that they truly do. And having a drone pilot that's lives very close by and also works out here is a huge benefit to Star Police Department, our men and women that work there, and also to our community. So I really appreciate him and the experience he brings, and I just welcome him to the family of the Star Police Department and the city of Star.
Right. Want to say anything?
No, thank you.
We got to. I got to ask you a question. We're at what small town?
Shoshone.
It's where my family's from.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Let's go.
When he said BLM, that's the only place that has a bunch of kids that go do BLM. So, well, congrats. Thanks for coming out here.
Any other questions from City Council at all?
And thanks for going to the school. That's part of our whole goal of being proactive is having somebody there. So appreciate that.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'll quickly go through this November report. I know that I just last City Council went over the October report. And a lot of it's pretty similar. Again, last week or last City Council, I asked that people keep their vehicle doors locked. Please keep doing that. Lock your vehicles. Don't leave keys in the vehicles, and leave your garage doors shut. Those type of things, because we do get people that walk around and check doors and walk through garages. So we had so far to 2023 year to date, we have 292 total crimes. In November, we had 8 person crimes, 9 property crimes, and 8 society crimes. The person crimes, I get asked by quite a bit of what those were. A lot of those were domestic violence type crimes and 1 battery and then a fight that we had out here and that we responded to. So citizens calls for service, that's when somebody calls in for police presence. We had 276 in November. And proactive policing calls, that's where calls where we initiate the call ourselves, was 1,688. We have about a 6 to 1. I'm always happy to see at least 4 to 1. And we were beyond that with that about 6 proactive calls to 1 reactive call, per se. Not a whole lot in the select call types to mention there. I did notice that a lot of the crimes from a year ago compared to November, we are a little lower this November, so I'm happy to see that. Did have a total of 7 arrests for the month of November. 5 of those are warrants. Anybody that has a warrant in Star knows that we are very good at looking at warrants and searching them out and finding them. We did have 1 DUI and 1 possession of controlled substance arrest. About 14% of the arrests for November were drug charges. We had 1 mental hold in November, and then our response time average for in Star, so in our city, was 2 minutes and 26 seconds. The response time out of Star so far for the month of November was 3 minutes and 32 seconds. Again, our goal for in Star is under 4 minutes. So I'm glad to see that we're almost half that. When somebody needs an officer, it's seconds matter. So, is there any question from City Council at all?
No, that's good. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Appreciate it. You got a question?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Sorry. All right. Thank you. We'll move on to item 5, the consent agenda. Entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilwoman,
I move that we approve the consent agenda consisting of item 5A, the approval of minutes for November 21st, 2023, and item 5B, the approval of claims.
we got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, a second by Councilman Hershey. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Wheelock,
Aye.
Salmonson,
Aye.
Hershey.
Aye.
All right, that motion carries. Thank you. Moving on, item 6A, we have our audit presentation. I think, and Ryan has it up there, and then I think you handed us all
I handed everyone a bound copy. If you
a
want
bound copy as well.
Or I can. Let's go.
So after your presentation, then we have to make a motion to accept it. Just so everybody's aware.
Thank you.
Yep.
So I'm Jordan Swigart from Swigart John Associates. I'm going to briefly go over the audit. If you have questions, stop me. I'll go in more detail. Otherwise, I'll just kind of hit some high points. If you go to page 4, this is with our letterhead on it. Up one page. Yep, right there. This is our opinion on the financial statements. So this is for the audit for September 30th, 2022. So a little bit later, but we've got it all together. We looked at it. We looked at the supporting document and how everything was put together. And in our opinion, it's materially correct. I mean, everything was reported correctly, everything tied out to the supporting document. From there, I'm going to jump to page 9. It should say balance sheet governmental funds. The next one there. Oh, down one. Perfect. I think the pages actually should match the PDF pages here. This is just the balance sheet as of the end of the year. You can see the general fund, you ended with about 11.6 million of cash. In park impact fees ended with about 2.6 million of cash. The receivables there, nothing abnormal. That's just timing of property tax and other things coming in. The due from other government, 406,000. That's mainly sales tax that comes in after year end. And then prepaid expense, that 28,000. That's just insurance that the time period differs. On the liability side there, no major changes. Again, just timing of when invoices come in. From there, I'll jump forward 2 pages to page 11. This is the income statement for the year. So you can see the general fund, you brought in about $11.7 million. You spent about 10.5 million, or you were able to increase the reserve by about $1 million. A good portion of that was some ARPA funds that came in that weren't spent at the end of the year. And then impact fees, you brought in about 1.2 million of impact fees, spent 577,000. We're increased those by just over $700,000 for the year. So overall, you increased your fund balance by about $1.8 million for the year. Any questions on that? From there, I'll jump forward through the footnotes. Footnote 1 is just a summary footnote. We'll skip over that. Footnote 2, I'll jump to page 18. Sorry. This just shows where funds were sitting at the end of the year. So you had external investment pool about 2.7. That's the state LGIP. 2.7 million was sitting there. The rest was sitting in saving and checking accounts at the end of the year. From there, jump forward again, quite a few pages. To page 25. Footnote 11, I just like to make sure, that the council's always aware. The city does have credit cards. There's about a 20,000 limit on them. At the end of the year, about 1,400 was in use. It was paid off subsequently.
So just to
Yes.
clarify that, that's not one credit card, that's multiple.
So that's credit cards.
Yeah.
That's the
okay.
total credit limit on all the cards combined.
Thank you.
Thanks for clarifying that. From there, I'll jump to page 27. This is just for the general fund. This just shows what was budgeted for the year versus what actually happened. So you'd budgeted to bring in 9.7 million. You ended up bringing in 11.7 million, or about $2 million more than was budgeted. You budgeted to spend 12.2 million, ended up spending about 10.5 or 1.6 million less than was budgeted. Most of that was in the capital outlay, some projects that had budgeted for that didn't happen for the year. And then you'd budget some transfers with there. So your budget was to break even, and you were able to increase the reserve in the general fund by just over $1 million for the year. From there, I'll skip forward to page 32. Page 32, this just breaks out, I won't spend much time here, but this breaks out the revenues in the general fund into more detail. I mean, showing the budget versus what actually happened, a little bit more line detail there. And then page 33 and 34 do the same thing for the expenditures. Again, breaking it to more of a line item detail. So those are 2 good reports to look at if you're looking at that budget to actual. From there, I'll go to page 36. So the ARPA funds, there were ARPA funds spent for the year, and part of the funds, there was an election to use them so that they would get reported here. This just shows the federal funds for the year of 2.2 million. And because of that, in addition to the normal audit, we had to audit those funds specifically in what's called a federal single audit. Just meaning that we're looking for the grant compliance there. Because of that, we have a few extra reports here at the end. If you turn to page 38. This first one is a normal report we've had in the past here. This just says, in addition to doing the financial audit, we looked at internal controls over financial reporting and compliance with financial reporting. Really, we're looking there to more than one set of eyes look at invoices. Are bank statements being reconciled and looked at by someone other than the person reconciling them? And we saw those controls in place. We were able to verify where the more than one set of eyes were looking at things there. And we didn't see any compliance issues. Jumping to page 40. On this report, it's same thing, looking at controls and compliance, but specific to federal grants. Again, were the grants spent according to the way the grant said they were? We did not have any findings there. The grants were being spent in accordance with what they were supposed to be seeing. And everything was being looked at there. So no findings to report on there. If you look at page 43, this is kind of a high level summary here. And you see there are no issues reported there. One thing I'll point out is it's asked there at the bottom, it says audit qualify as a low risk auditee. It's no. That's because you haven't had a single audit for the last 2 years. So that's not something you did. If you don't have federal grants and have a single audit every year, that's a no. So that's not a ding against you. That gets asked a lot. Now you can see in 21, we had some findings where we couldn't verify that everything was being looked at by more than one. That was resolved. So that was not showing up here for your finding. So a lot of information there, kind of high level overview. Any questions for me?
So I just want to clarify.
Yes.
So on the prior year findings, basically what that was saying there is that we didn't have people reconciling statements and stuff like that, like you're saying that we're doing now?
We couldn't verify that two sets of eyes were looking at things. That
Okay. All
that
right.
some, what we don't like to see is that the person that puts the invoices in the system, approves the invoices, cuts the check, pays the invoices, and then reconciles the bank statement. So we were able to verify that invoices, we could see where someone was approving them that wasn't putting them in, where banks were being currently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. All right.
Yep. So fiscal 22, there was not a finding. That finding was from fiscal 21.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilwoman.
So along that same lines, is it just that one issue, or like should somebody else be doing the reconciliation, or would you recommend that, or is that something you look at?
No, we definitely look at that. In a perfect world, we would love someone to do the bank reconciliation that doesn't sign on the accounts and doesn't put in invoices. That's not always feasible, both financially and operationally. So what we look for as a backstop, because that's not always feasible, is that if someone's reconciling it that is in that process of putting things in, that a second person is looking at and approving that reconciliation.
So we have a separate just to answer your
Yeah.
question, we have a separate person that puts in the invoices from the person that's reconciling the bank statements. And then the bank statements come to me to reconcile, to sign off on them too.
Okay. Great. And then also I did notice on page 6 that you said like part of the standard accounting system or governmental accounting standard is to include what was it?
A management discussion and
Right,
analysis.
Right. And so, but in here it states that, you don't see that because that information is missing, that it's an issue. I guess for like the city, would you recommend that information should be included in the future audits, or?
So what the management discussion and analysis, it's kind of a preface it to the financials that management writes that summarizes the financial information in a more narrative format. It says kind of, here's what's changed, here's what our plans are. It's a great thing to have in there. Of the cities we do in Idaho, I have 2 that do it.
Okay.
It's not very common in Idaho to do it. It can be a very good thing if it's utilized. The 2 cities that do it, there's probably 2 people that read those, the clerk that put it together and me. So
I'm just gonna kind of meet with you and just discuss that more to see how we can do it. Cause
yeah,
doesn't hurt for us to do it.
no, it doesn't
Gotta do
hurt
it
to do
right.
it. And so I can, if you want to do it, I can work with you to get you templates of here's what's in it. basically regurgitates the financial information at top, and then there's a little room where you can say, expenses went up because of this, or they went down because of that.
Yeah, if you can, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then one more item. So I did notice, there's a few places where it says, that there's no formal policy in place for this or that. So I'm wondering if you would have any recommendations maybe for the city for the next year of like to focus, to put something like, to put some of those missing policies in place.
Yeah, I mean, I can work with you on those. A lot of them are accounting policies.
Like on page 15, so there's no,
15.
yeah. So like no formal policy regarding the use of committed, assigned or unassigned fund balances. I know that we have something internally like that we follow, but we don't have an official policy. So I think it would be beneficial for the city. And there's a few others in here. I'd have to scroll through and look, but
Yeah, there's probably one about credit risk. I don't believe you have a formal policy of we should only keep this much at a bank and credit risk.
yeah.
So I'm more than happy, to go over those if you want to read those. The one for assigned, unassigned, committed funds, of all of them, I'd say that's probably one to look at. With the transparency, Idaho transparency, and things are being reported to the state now. That is one that is being looked at more. What that is the fund balance can have different categories. Unassigned means it can be used anything that's appropriate for that fund. So general fund, unassigned means it can be used anything for government. Committed, if you want to make a policy, is that as a council, you've said, we want to set these funds aside for this project, and that's all these funds can be used for. They're committed for this. So they have to be used for that, or the council can uncommit them. Or you can assign funds where the department heads can say, hey, we have this big project come aside. We'd like to, save aside this money for this project. So that would probably
Or
be
a savings account, it's basically a savings account for future use.
correct for specific purposes.
And that may change this year depending on what the legislature does.
Well, the transparency might, those policies, that's by government
I mean,
accounting standards, but,
yes,
or what funds you have, yeah.
just hearing what they're trying to do to us right now.
So I think, for example, like in here, you have like the council, the scholarship fund, sorry, that we've, designated, I think it said in there, $88,750, which I don't know if that number is correct, because I think in our budget, we have more.
Yeah.
So that would be an assigned,
Don't we assign it though when we give it the budget? I mean,
Yeah,
in reality, we're saying where that's being assigned.
yeah. So where it would show up in fund balances, if you're saying this $200,000 is going to go toward this project in future years. Because in the budget, you're assigning it for that year.
So we're gonna discuss a little
Yeah.
bit about capital improvement stuff that we're gonna have to do in the future years. Some of the stuff that the legislature is gonna probably do to us is force us to do this anyway. And so this is what we're gonna discuss on what we're gonna come up with a plan on improvements and future replacements, costs and stuff like that, where you could designate this money to those accounts.
Exactly. So those fund balance categories are more for funds that you're holding at the end of the year that are allocated for future periods. Because
Okay.
So for instance, if we
So-
want to, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah.
For instance, let's say, I'm just going to pull up the rec center. Let's say we want to put 4 million towards the rec center. We can set that fund up there, and then every year you can put money towards that, and that's what it's allocated for until such time that the council decides to either use it for that
Yeah.
or switch and put it somewhere else.
Exactly.
Does that answer your
yes,
question?
that does. And I think we should have more conversations about that, because I think it'd be really beneficial for planning purposes and transparency and all of that. So thank you.
No.
Go ahead. And I have a question for you when he's done.
I have another question. On page 17, the interest rate and risk. The city doesn't have a formal policy limiting investment maturities that would help manage exposure. And I'm wondering, we have the voluntary participation in the state of Idaho investment pool. At what interest rate does that have? How does that work? Does it matter?
It changes.
Can we invest that money better somewhere else? And is that an option? Because we don't have a formal policy.
So by state law, you can. I mean, there's allowed investments. The state LGIP currently is right around 5%, I believe. It's seen a big increase. The state LGIP is a great option because it basically mimics the market. Pretty safe investments. So if the market's doing better, you get a better interest rate. If it's doing worse, you get a worse rate. But your principal is secured. You know, if you start getting into other things, like you could invest in US Treasuries.
I
But
guess that's the first time I'd heard of their interest rate.
so yeah, the
Wanna
state local
cruise
government
off.
investment pool.
If
Oh.
we have a better interest rate available.
No, that's stuff we're looking at too. I know
Yeah.
we have them in several different things.
Yeah.
Even some CDs right now that have a higher rate. You know, we got things in different pools. I will tell you the LGIP, when the interest rates were so low, 3 years ago,
Uh-huh.
maybe, 2 years
Yeah,
ago,
it was close to zero.
nothing. You weren't making hardly anything on it. And it does this big ebb and flow, right, on it. Right now, we're making quite a bit of
Now-
money.
Yeah.
Now's the time to make some money on it.
Now's the time to make money.
Right,
Yeah.
right now it's doing great. So yeah, the state, all it is it's all the money's combined to the state and the state invests it in safe
Yeah.
things, and whatever that portfolio returns is what they put through as the interest.
And so by investing it, would that reduce the risk then of all this, like this 11 million or?
And a lot of that is timing. A lot of your funds were at a bank. Technically, the state LJP is not FDIC insured either. But it was all at one bank. So there was a risk if that bank collapsed, you had funds in there that weren't insured. How big of a risk that is, that's, up to date, but that is a risk. So, we do have some cities that invest in, state treasuries or other secure things, which is an option. Most invest in the state LJP because when you invest in other things, a lot of times the principal value can go up and down. So you can invest in there, and then if you need to sell it before it matures, you'd get less. The state LJP is liquid. What you put in, you can get that out plus some interest. But that's always something, to look at how to best.
17.
Sorry, I have one more question.
One more question.
Yep. Page 29, item F. So it says that expenditures may not legally exceed the budgeted appropriations at the fund level, but then the impact fee fund, we did exceed the amount. So is that an issue?
We could not see where the impact fee had an adopted budget. And
Well, it's in our capital expenses in there, but I'll show you what that is. But the challenge we have here though, when it says expenditures may not legally exceed budget appropriations at the fund level, what happens when you have explosive growth like the city of Star has, and you have expenditures to impact the ACHD that you didn't budget for? You have expenditures to our inspectors that are higher than what you budgeted for, but your income has come in at a higher rate too for those.
agreed. And like I said, both of and that's why it shouldn't, the solution there is to amend the budget at the end of the year.
Yep.
With all of that change, again, that's not a huge concern for us from an audit perspective because both of your funds brought in more than they paid out. So we understand that happens.
But here's the problem. We haven't done that. And we just need to do the amendment of the budget at the end of the year.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's at the end of the fiscal year when it's all said and done,
Yeah.
right?
And what I would suggest, what a lot do is when they're adopting the new budget, they amend the last year's budget at the same time.
But it's hard to do when you got a whole month and a half between the adoption of your budget and the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah.
But it's
but
okay
if
to
you
do
can
it at the end,
project, yeah,
After the fiscal year is actually closed, you can do it.
I recommend doing it in the year because technically the statute is, it shouldn't be spent if it wasn't budgeted.
So the second council
But-
meeting of September should be when we amend the budget.
But if you do it at the same time, I mean, you should be able to project out a month and a half and build in a buffer there.
Okay, all right, got it. Perfect. Any
Right.
more questions?
No, thank you. I
Okay,
appreciate this.
any more questions?
Thanks for the discussion.
No, great questions. I appreciate you not falling asleep on me. So if you do have questions later, my number's on the letterhead. Feel free to reach out.
Yep.
And then, like the mayor said, you'll just want to make a motion to accept the audit report and I believe 23, we're going to try to get out in, I was talking with Jacob in February, I think, to try to get that one. So it's done earlier this year.
Okay, cool.
So
Awesome.
you're saying it'll be done in a couple months? Or
We're
the-
trying to get on site in February to start. the
Oh,
process.
gotcha. Okay. All right.
So you guys entertain a motion to approve the audit results.
So moved.
Second,
Second,
any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Wheelock,
Aye.
Salmonson,
aye.
Hershey.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. Thank you. And we go to item 6B. Ryan, can you pull that up real quick for me? We need the acceptance of the canvas election results, acceptance of Ada and Canyon County election results. Right? We just make a motion to approve that, correct? That only happens every couple of years. I can't remember.
That's correct. Yeah, it's just
You're in
the county
council packet.
canvases, so it used to be the cities ran their own elections. And then a handful of years ago, the state reworked it around all the elections through the county. So the county does all the heavy lifting and the city just has to kind of approve.
Okay.
Or I guess maybe accept what the county has submitted.
So we need to have a motion to accept the canvas election results of Ada and Canyon County both.
Individually or together?
Well, you could do it together, one motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Wheelock.
I move that we accept and the canvassed election results from Ada and Canyon County together.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second.
Second,
We have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Wheelock,
Aye.
Salmonson,
aye.
Hershey.
All right, that motion carries. I just want to tell everybody, have a Merry Christmas. And hopefully we'll see you on New Year's Eve down at the River House. With that being said, it is 7:52 and we're adjourned.